Hey, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brack. We're going to be joined by John Cosco from Pro Football Focus to talk all things Arizona Cardinals, including Bo, the franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray. And speaking of K1, some encouraging news. Friend of the program, Kyle Odegard, dropped a spicy little nugget this morning here on a Thursday.
It was. I think it made a lot of Cardinals fans Thursday even better. It was earlier this afternoon. He dropped that out there that Kyler Murray is kind of chomping on the bit, and we'll give full context to that. But it's encouraging, and it's something that I think this show has kind of felt was on the radar of this organization. Are they going to have to kind of rein in their franchise quarterback, slow him down as he wants to return to the playing field for, one, to get back on track, two, he's just the ultimate competitor, and three, he's got a large chip on his shoulder. But we're going to get into that. And John Cosco dropped the Pro Football Focus article out the other day. I think it was on June 30th, kind of outlining why Kyler Murray is in line for a bounce back season. But it's going to be a lot of K1 today. So Austin, we're glad you're here. Finally off work early enough to listen live. Excited to have you with us. Same thing with the usuals. Michael Evans, what's up? Kyle, Victor, coming off his birthday, probably not too hungover if he had too many Four Peaks. Four Peaks usually doesn't get you too hungover because it's quality beer. It's not some swaggy beer that's gonna put you on the couch most of the day. Mr. J, Fishbowl Flash, Nico, Jose, what's up, everybody? Glad to have you on with us on PHNX Cardinals.
The Four Peaks is not tier 6 beer. Let's just put it to you that way. If you don't know where I'm going with that, we're going to talk about a tier with Kyler Murray, which is maybe the most egregious ranking I've seen this offseason. We're going to touch on that. But I want to talk about this Kyler Murray story. Kyle Odegard, friend of the program, Compare.bet, does fantastic work. And listen, full transparency, Bo Brack and I, we had a chance to connect with Jonathan Gannon way back when at the NFL Combine in March. And Gannon told us Kyler Murray is going to be adamant to return quickly. We got finished kind of teasing the fact that K1's been trashed by the national media, by ex-players, right? He wants to come back and prove himself. The Cardinals are going to treat this with kid gloves, but maybe that's not going to be enough. This is from Kyle Odegard at Compare.bet, Bo, with regard to Kyler Murray's recovery timeline. This is from his most recent article that dropped this morning. Kyler, according to Kyle, wants to get back on the field, quote, badly. The Cardinals' star quarterback is in the midst of his ACL recovery and is pushing to return to action as early as possible, according to a source with close knowledge of the situation. However, the new coaching staff, as we mentioned, in Arizona has been trying to manage those expectations, intent on, additionally, this is from Kyle's article, taking a measured approach to ensure there's a low chance of re-injury. They're thinking big picture, Bo. Murray tore his ACL in December 12th game last year against the Patriots at the first possession, had surgery after the swelling went down on January 3rd. Kyler Murray began to straight line run a couple of weeks ago and has not suffered any setbacks, the source said. So a lot of information to take there. Again, great work by NFL Insider Kyle Odegard. And I mean, are you surprised that Kyler Murray, given everything, it's not sitting on the couch playing video games, right? He didn't gain 50 pounds. He's trying to get back as soon as possible for this franchise and most importantly for his teammates.
Yeah, I mean, he's Danny from Ted Lasso. I mean, football is life. Competing is life for Kyler Murray, whether he's on the football field, on the baseball diamond, whether he's, in his gaming chair and he's competing in esports. He's a competitor, and that's what he loves to do. And when you sideline him and he can't get out there and he can't, ham it up with his teammates, if you can't throw bombs and throw quick slants or whatever, the play may call, or scramble out of the pocket and make a play himself, I think that he doesn't feel like the most he feels alive, right? To be lame and romantic about it. But I think that that's where you get peak Kyler. And I think that that's where he wants to be, especially with all the nonsense and all the noise that's surrounded Kyler Murray since, kind of the contract, the ugly contract negotiation went down, in January of 2022. So, this is somebody that wants to prove himself. And the only way he's really kind of been able to show his worth as far as a football player is on the field, because otherwise people have a short memory with Kyler Murray. They seem to forget who he is. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He was the number 1 overall pick. He was the offensive rookie of the year. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a guy that was the leader in the clubhouse through 8 weeks of an NFL season to be an MVP. He was legit in 2021. And, due to the league catching up to the Arizona Cardinals offensive scheme, due to the league catching up to Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, they were kind of put in a tough spot and didn't have a great season last year. And he wants to prove everybody that was the fluke. That was the outlier. That was the anomaly. And that he's the guy that we thought he was, for the first 3 seasons of his 4-year career going into his 5th.
Yeah, a lot of love being shown to K1 in the chat. Mark is saying this is K1's team. He is the general. That's got to feel good for him. And he seems eager to step up to the challenge. That's that rad dude, the effing rad dude. Yeah, rad. I'm bringing it back. Jose saying you can't take the dog out of the fight, but you can take the dog out of the fight, but you cannot take the fight out of the dog, that being K1. Nico, K1 is such a competitor. Still, the smart play is to let him take his time. And then the fishbowl thinking differently here. K1 is back by week 1, baby. And the black jersey will be used that week. Quite the curveball. They show up week 1 against the Commanders in Washington. Kyler Murray's back and they're rocking the black jerseys. I'd be all here for it. I do think we're going to see Kyler Murray in those black jerseys at some point in 2023. And straight line running is a big deal, right? Yeah. And we saw him squatting. Good hell, what was it, like 4 or 6 weeks after surgery? He was throwing around some weight in early February, and
yeah, was it a lot of us? It was 13 weeks, right? Was that?
No, it was like a month. Remember that video we broke down in like late January? He's like squatting and doing some conditioning. It was unbelievable. Kyler Murray, to me, as Gannon put it, right, when we spoke to him in Indianapolis, it's not necessarily the straight line running. It's not the lateral quickness. It's the maneuverability that he has always done, right? Because he ran in the open field, and it was the purest non-contact injury you'll ever see. He went down on his own, and he makes that cut and that maneuver 100 times in an individual game. If he takes off running, they have to ensure, Brack, that when they put him back on that field, he can do those kind of things, not just take off, not just make all the scrambles and all the throws on the run, but the traditional maneuverability that comes with Kyler Murray that we all take for granted that he can be able to do without thinking twice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, JG told us that much in Indy, and he was very right, basically saying that Kyler Murray needs to be 100% physically, and he absolutely has to be 100% mentally because of what you said, that non-contact injury, that cut that he's made thousands of times in his athletic career. Now, is he going to think twice before he makes it? Because on December 12th, Monday Night Football, he tore his ACL and had a little meniscus tear in there as well, or had a meniscus injury. Is it going to happen again? Like it's tough to kind of get that, I guess, out from between your ears. And it's I don't doubt that the organization from the front office and Monti Ossenfort and his crew behind the scenes and Jonathan Gannon's coaching staff and his training staff have a plan for this, and they've got criteria that Kyler Murray needs to meet. It's not going to be, hey, we're just going to see how this goes, and it's going to be just like a fluid situation. It's not going to be like, remember when Kyler Murray all those weeks was out with a hamstring injury with the Cardinals on the Kingsbury and crew. He had the ankle injury, and we just had no idea what his availability or inavailability was. And I think that they've got an absolute idea of what it's going to take for him to be green lighted to go.
Yeah. We've got so much good content coming in from the chat. We've got good content on deck for you. We are being joined now. Pro Football Data Reporter has got a great article, as Bo alluded to earlier, about why Kyler Murray is set to bounce back, not only from injury, but with his quality of play that we saw each of those first 3 seasons. It's John Cosco, first time here on PHNX Cardinals. John, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be on the show.
John, everybody, of course, our chat loves the content on PFF.com. Obviously, why Kyler Murray's poised kind of for a bounce-back season. Before we kind of get into it, you broke down what went wrong in 2022. What was kind of the issues with Kyler Murray? And you outlined, Cliff Kingsbury's offense. But before we get into the bounce-back maybe with Petzing's offense and Drew Petzing being his new play caller, what was, like, in your opinion, the fatal flaw to the Cliff Kingsbury offense when you looked at it and kind of deep dived it?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think it was very innovative, and it just kind of was stagnant. And he had his system of what he wanted to do, and didn't adapt to what the NFL was throwing at him. So you saw it in year one. They had some success a little bit. Obviously, they grew into it, and as Kyler Murray grew as a football player, it looked better. But once teams see, hey, this is what they're doing well, we've got to be able to counteract that. They had no real good answer for that. So I think he didn't have, the curveball to throw at teams, and then the changeup and stuff like that. He didn't have that in his arsenal. He just kept running his system and hoping that it would work, and the players would make it work. And when you get injuries, you have, a roster that was not very strong in the first place. It's hard to win in the NFL if you don't have a scheme that's going to beat defenses.
What do you think, John, is the best course of action to get Kyler Murray back to where we saw him and beyond? Because I think a lot of us would agree, like, Kyler Murray, even despite his head coach and some of his skill players, played like at times a top 5 to 10 quarterback each of his first 3 seasons. It's now about, especially when you label him an expensive quarterback with a $45 million price tag, what's the best course of action to get him back to where he was and then eclipse that? Get him to the point where you're considering him in the same realm of a Mahomes, Josh Allen, a Justin Herbert, a Trevor Lawrence. Like, you're the first overall pick. Like, that's where the expectation should be, should they not?
Yeah, he's got to get healthy first and foremost. You can't rush him onto the field before he's not ready to go. Because if he's not ready to go and he's not comfortable out there playing with that, knee, he's not going to be the same player. Because part of what made him a top 5 quarterback rated at PFF in 2021 was the fact that his rushing ability was a big threat to defenses. And then he also combined that with great arm talent. He had 43 big-time throws in 2021. It was one of the most in the NFL that year, at like 8% big-time throw rate. So you get him healthy and comfortable on the field first and foremost, let him grow into this offense. His talent will eventually take over, and he's going to be able to do more and beyond what the offense requires him. But he's got to be comfortable, stick to those basics and the fundamentals of what this offense is going to bring, because we've seen what this offense can do throughout the league. Matt Schaub doesn't have the talent that Kyler Murray has. He's got to get, but Matt Schaub really ran this style of offense great for several years, under Gary Kubiak. And we saw it in Minnesota. We saw it with Kirk Cousins. He was able to have success with that. Kevin Stefanski took that to the Cleveland Browns. We saw year one, Baker Mayfield had one of his best season of his career. And then Baker got hurt his second year. And then we know what, I think Baker, we've kind of discovered, is not a very good quarterback. So I think it elevates what the quarterback can do, and you've got to be able to grow into it. So I think with him, it's definitely just getting comfortable, because this system will work in the NFL for sure. And as a guy with his talent, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, when you look at the advanced metrics as you outlined in the article, it's like when things were perfect, when he had a clean pocket, he was actually really good. He showed off his elite accuracy, he showed off the arm strength, everything that we know about Kyler Murray. But then when things kind of broke down, he wasn't able to. He was actually right at kind of on par with his rookie season, and he kind of reverted a little bit. Especially the deep ball. Like, when we look at the deep ball, and you mentioned that, between 2021, when he was one of the best deep ball passers in the league, and then one of the worst last year, like, what was that? Was that the league and the too high looks that they were giving, and the scheme wasn't matching that, and Kyler Murray was just kind of SOL before the play even began? Or was he off as far as throwing deep balls?
It's a combination of all those things. So, like, in 2021, he had a grade of 96.7 when he was throwing a deep ball, which is, was the third best in the NFL that year. And then you look at it last year, he tanked from there, like in the 70s. So I think with him, it was a combination of things, right? So, like, DeAndre Hopkins wasn't available for the full season. They had injuries all across the board. He was injured before he even got, his knee injury that he had at the end of the season. So he wasn't ever right. So I think it's just a combination of a lot of different things there, where the scheme wasn't going well. Nothing was going right in there. And then Kyler Murray's struggling because he doesn't have the confidence. And there's a huge part of, like, playing quarterback of from the neck up. Like, it's not even an athletic part of it. It's a confidence where, you can trust your guys out on the field are going to be at a certain spot, and you can throw it with anticipation, and they're going to be there to catch the ball and not, be in the wrong spot, give a turnover or something like that. So that's a big part of that as well. And that you have to have that trust in your receiving core down on those deeper downfield throws. And he just didn't have it. So there's a multiple amount of factors that go into that. And I think the biggest one really is not trusting your players, your system, and then also not being comfortable in the sense that like nothing's going right, so I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, we know, John, based on interactions during games and things we've heard kind of behind the scenes, that Kyler and Cliff's relationship really deteriorated last year. And speaking to the point of the fact that he didn't trust Cliff Kingsbury's offense, but I want to talk specifically about the skill players in the receiver position. We've kind of speculated, was Kyler Murray done a disservice? Do you feel like with the influx of undersized receivers, would Kyler Murray be better suited, albeit 5'10", and he predominantly plays from the pocket, or excuse me, from the shotgun? Do you think it's done a disservice that he's had Rondale Moore, 5'9", these undersized wide receivers for a lot of his career in Arizona? Should they flush him with big physical receivers that you saw last year, a la Drew Petzing? We've talked about on our show, John, no Cleveland Brown wide receiver was under 6 feet last year.
It plays a factor. I think you want guys that can get open and catch the ball. So I think that's the biggest factor when it comes to the wide receiver position. So yeah, it would be nice to have Calvin Johnsons out there to have
Sure.
big bodies, right? I think everybody would love that, but not everybody is that. So, you look at like Josh Allen, for an example, who struggled his first 2 years in the league and then obviously took off like a rocket. And now, is considered an elite level quarterback. And part of that is just Stephon Diggs coming to Buffalo. And Stephon Diggs is one of the best route runners in the NFL. He got open. He's just one of the best receivers in the NFL. So when you have that, and you look at it from Kyler Murray's perspective, when DeAndre Hopkins came in there, you saw his game really take off. But when you couldn't rely on if he was going to be playing or not, Murray started struggling. So when he was not in games, he struggled. And when he was in games, it was a lot better for him. So I just think that he needs good wide receivers. I don't know if Rondale Moore is going to turn into that. I think a lot of us have thought highly of him coming out of Purdue and out of college, but he is undersized. Like that size, that's a big outlier because he is really small, especially even for a slot guy. So you definitely just need good receivers. I think Hollywood Brown is a good receiver for him, but they just need to surround him with more good receivers. And so to me, regardless of size, they have to be able to get open and catch the ball and be in the right spots for him when he needs them to be.
I think it was a necessary kind of go back to the past, relook at the Cliff Kingsbury offense and look at where things went wrong. But now that we've got that out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff as we get to preview what Drew Petzing brings from Cleveland. And we've heard, consistent with your article, that it's going to look a little bit like what the Browns are doing. We've heard they're going to incorporate, what Philly does in the shotgun and maybe take in some of the concepts from San Francisco. So, all three of those pretty run-heavy offenses. What is, in your mind, what is the most important thing that Drew Petzing is going to do for Kyler Murray with this offense that's going to get him back on track?
I think the pressure is going to be taken off of him significantly. So this was an offensive line last year that was actually pretty good. And it's their strength coming into 2023 that we PFF that we think that is. So if you can just take even more pressure on him, you go under center, do play action pass type stuff, that's going to slow down that pass rush, and it's going to give Kyler Murray more time in the pocket and also put him on the move where he can utilize his athleticism. So the Cleveland Browns last year, I know that like they didn't have the year that they wanted or anything like that. They had Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback for most of it. Deshaun Watson was awful coming back from suspension. They had they were able to scheme up, or even you could say that the wide receivers are good enough, but I wouldn't say that they were beyond Amari Cooper. They had the fifth most wide receivers open per play in the NFL last year.
Wow.
per our stuff and our metrics. So it's a scheme that gets guys open. And I think that's what's going to happen for Arizona. It's going to allow them buy more time for those guys to get open in these concepts, and it's going to, like you see it all the time with Kyle Shanahan's system. That system has open guys all over the field, and it makes it really easy for that quarterback just to find the open guy and hit it, because it's usually one read type stuff where they suck up those linebackers with their play action. They have their wide zone, so there's not only just sucking up the linebackers, but they're spreading out that defensive line, from right to left, and it makes it really difficult to rush the quarterback. So there's a lot of good things that can come from the system. And then if you're incorporating Philly's system as well, which is out of the shotgun, you can utilize Kyler Murray's, running abilities. I don't think he's going to be right as a runner until, maybe late in the year, maybe not even until 2024. But if you can protect him with this system, it's gonna be fine in the long run.
John, apologies. I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you have the affinity for the safety position. You played safety at the University of Kansas. So the Cardinals, not sure if you know this or not, have a former first-round pick. The year after they took Kyler Murray, they took Isaiah Simmons and tried to shoehorn him an inside linebacker.
He's from Kansas. Isaiah
oh, is he? Interesting. Well, he's moving to safety.
He didn't come to Kansas though, so I mean,
he went to Clemson. Yeah,
that was actually the only other school that offered Isaiah Simmons was Kansas outside of Clemson. Yeah.
I don't know why he didn't choose Kansas back in the era of them winning 1 and 2 games a year.
So Isaiah won the Buckus Award. He got drafted 8th overall by the Cardinals, and then they've screwed around with his development. This is really, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, John. This is really his last-stitch effort to stick with this team and carve out a niche in the NFL. They're moving him to safety. They're going to play him a little bit at slot corner too. I don't know if you've watched a lot of Isaiah Simmons in the NFL, but with what you've seen, do you think that can be a successful transition, especially when you consider Cardinals already have 2 prominent safeties in Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson?
I think he's more of a linebacker, dime backer type guy where you don't want him out in space because I don't think he tested extremely well at the combine, right? I think we all saw him blow up the combine, but when those numbers didn't match what you saw on tape from him of being a fluid athlete. And to me, with his size, he could be a linebacker. And I think he's from his skill set and not being able to, flip his hips and stick with the. I mean, I know why they drafted him. They want to be able to stick with like a George Kittle type and be able to lock down that. He's not going to be able to do that in the NFL. I don't think he's physical enough in terms of like in coverage that way, but he's a weird type of player because he doesn't have a great skill set for one spot or the other. And I think he's a bigger liability when it comes to being in coverage. That's like his grade last year in coverage, for an example, was a 69, which is not great. And obviously, you want it to be much better, but he's also still not great as a run defender where he was a 47. Mm-hmm. So he's I don't really know what to do with him because I never I didn't think of him very highly coming out of college because of the movement skills that didn't work as a safety. So I really don't know what to do with him. I think you tried to develop him as a linebacker and say, use your size, use your strength to just blow things up and maybe has a will back where you can be free from blocks because he's not a super physical at the point of attack, but he could make tackles though.
Jonathan Gannon, also a former safety. You guys kind of similar ages and all that. Have you given maybe much look at what this defense is capable of doing? Nick Rollis, 29-year-old DC, up and coming, or did you spend all your time kind of researching this Cardinals offense?
I spent most of it on Kyler Murray and the offense, but if you look at obviously Jonathan Gannon, what he was able to do in Philly, and they ran a 2 high scheme. A lot of cover 4. And so I think you're probably going to bring that in to here as well, because big thing is stopping the deep pass and having being able to protect, at that position, you can run fit with those safeties and you can also protect the deep pass with them. And it basically kind of shortens the field for offensive coordinators, offenses and quarterbacks. So I think that's what you're going to see. Philly was very well coached on the defensive end. They had, they were always in the right spot. They were always just playing sound football, and then they were aggressive with it as well. So I would expect much of the same. If they don't have the talent that Philly's defense had, for sure, but I think that's what you're going to, over time, you're going to see an attacking, aggressive team that's going to play sound football. Obviously, that's like cliche type talk or whatever. That's all you always want to hear that, right? Like play sound football, be aggressive.
Right.
But that's essentially what the Eagles were, is that they were able to get after the quarterback with their front 4. And they didn't have to do it much with the blitz, but they could switch up their multiple looks, but with on the back end with good solid play.
My final question for you, John, is you look at the landscape of this roster. There's been a ton of lists over the course of the offseason. Not many people think highly of it. Are there any players that are kind of young under the radar? They had what we think is a very strong draft this year, and then even last year, guys like Trey McBride and Cameron Thomas have a chance to pop off. Is there anybody that you would keep your eye on if you were a Cardinal fan that's got a chance to stick, early into his mid-20s?
Yeah, I like Paris Johnson as a draft pick, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. I think he's a good player. I like, from you're talking about coming from a good pedigree or whatever. I like drafting those Power 5 schools, especially Ohio State and the big programs, because they have all that experience of going up against the best. So he was excellent on that offensive line for them, and I expect more of the same for. He's going to be playing guard for the Cardinals, but I think he's going to be a solid player there. And I also like Zach Pascal. I don't think he got a lot of opportunities in Indianapolis. I think he can be a guy that comes in there and plays extremely well for the Cardinals. So, he's a speedy guy that gets open well. And, we've seen with the Colts the past couple of years, their quarterback issues. So I think he's going to be a pretty good player for them.
Make sure you're following along on Twitter at John Cosco, Kosko 3. Read his latest PFF.com, what to expect from the Cardinals offense in Kyler Murray in 2023. PFF continues to churn out great content, including the PFF Fantasy Show. Got to check that out. John, it's great to get to know you. Great insight, and we'll talk to you down the line. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Bo. Thanks, Johnny. Have a great rest of your evening.
You too. There he goes, John Cosco. Just a wealth of knowledge there. Really interesting to hear why he thinks this Petzing, taking the Cleveland Browns concepts, what it can do for the Arizona Cardinals. To hear that their wide receivers were getting open, the fifth most of any NFL wide receiver core. I mean, that's really encouraging, Johnny, especially when you look at the athletes that the Cardinals have in that room.
Yeah, he seemed pretty bullish on the Cardinal offense, and I mean, I know they got kind of trashed in recent rankings with their offensive line, but he called it a strength, which I think is, obvious. Their offensive line is deep. It's maybe their deepest position unit on the team. Speaking of strengths right now, our strength right here, our friends at BetMGM. BetMGM, swing for the fences. Right now, you can get signed up. It's super easy. Log into the BetMGM Sportsbook app on your iOS, Android device. Play the BetMGM MLB free-to-play game. You've got all summer up until September 7th. So you've got a while, but don't slack on it. Be a batter and pick an area of the strike zone. Depending on the area of the strike zone you pick, single, double, triple, home run, or pop out, you're going to receive the prize associated with that type of hit. You can play one per day. Prizing must be used on the Major League Baseball suggested bets, and they do expire after 24 hours. So do it and then use it. If you haven't signed up yet, speaking of using it, sign up right now with BetMGM. Use that bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our folks in Arizona, place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses with BetMGM. They've got you covered for your first bet up to 1,000 big ones. But of course, make sure you're using that bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to our guy, Shane Diefenbach, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
We just got a new shipment of Four Peaks beer here to the studio. It's unbelievable. They've got the Staycation Super Juicy IPAs. Can't wait to get my mitts on that ice cold beer. Also, we're going to be hanging out, as you mentioned, BetMGM tomorrow. They're going to have, I know they have at least 2 Four Peaks beers on tap there, including the flagship Kilt Lifter. Goes crazy. So does the Wow Wheat. Great summer beer, #1 wheat beer in the state of Arizona. Check out what Four Peaks is doing on all their socials as well. They might even have a thread account. I don't even know yet. I haven't deep dived it enough. I'm sure they do, but you got to figure out and find out for yourself on Instagram. Follow them at Four Peaks Brew in Four Peaks Pub. They're doing giveaways, all sorts of contests, and you'll know what products are going on. Events. They're going to have some great events coming up where I know they're going to have a couple pairing set up where they're going to pair a several course meal with some of their delicious beers. You don't want to miss out on any of this. Check out fourpeaks.com. Check them out in your local grocery store, wherever you can find beer. You can find Four Peaks around the valley. Check them out for yourself. Got to be 21 years or older. And of course, you got to drink it responsibly.
I did keep my streak alive. Derek in the chat asking about Isaiah Simmons. Listen, John's an ex-safety, and I wanted to get his opinion on it. And his opinion on Isaiah Simmons, let's just say we share the same opinion. We both think Kyler Murray is great, and we both think Isaiah Simmons is, just kind of a guy right now in the NFL. Positionless. And be interesting to see what happens. All right, I'm gonna pull an audible, Brack, because I know we want to debrief Kyle's article, and I know we want to talk about all the good stuff John shared with us, but there's been a post by CBS Sports that Kyler Murray has since commented on. And so we're going to talk about that first. So here's the 2023 NFL QB tiers. According to Will Brunson of CBS Sports, this is one of the most egregious things I've ever seen in my life. For our audio listeners, he puts every single NFL QB that's starting in a tier. There are 7 tiers. Kyler Murray is not in tier 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. He's in tier 6 with the likes of Sam Howell, Jordan Love, the aforementioned Baker Mayfield, and Desmond Ridder. Will Brunson is a real NFL, or at least I thought he was, NFL reporter analyst, and he has Kyler Murray behind Mac Jones, baby hands Kenny Pickett, right? Behind Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill. Jimmy Garoppolo is in tier 4 with guys like Derek Carr, who was cut by his own team. This is the worst list I have ever seen in my life. This is not a clickbait list. CBS Sports is they don't need clicks, or maybe they do. Maybe they're trying to drum up interest before they jump ship to Threads. Will Brunson, this is disgraceful. You are better than this, or at least I thought you were. Why don't we just make Kyler Murray backup at this point? Kyler Murray, not good enough, according to Will Brunson, to start over Mac Jones and baby hands Kenny Pickett. Legit one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I don't know how you can put him below a tier of Mac McCorkle Jones, Kenny Pickett, and then Brock Purdy, who emerged last season, but still hasn't accomplished nearly as much as Kyler Murray has in his career. As you said, like Will Brunson was somebody that we thought that was a respectful, football writer, NFL writer, and this. I don't know if he was, maybe his bosses told him he needed to make this a polarizing list and take some risks, but it makes zero sense to couple him with the likes of Sam Howell and the rest of the guys that
why even do that?
I don't know.
Sam Howell's got 1 career touchdown pass.
Yeah.
It's just Kyler Murray has almost 100 total touchdowns in his NFL career. I mean, I saw that like a half an hour before the show. And I couldn't believe it. You know who else can't believe it, Brock? Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was on Twitter just before the show started and laughing emojis, and I love it. In response to somebody, Marcus, who's a supporter of the show, Kyler Murray is officially the most underrated player in professional sports. What the literal hell is this? And it's perfectly put by Marcus and Kyler Murray doubling down, just saying, I love it. Give it. Yeah. And I think it speaks to what we were talking about in the first segment. It's like this dude wants to come back and prove everybody wrong. Like he's got his money, right? He's got his college reputation that's intact. But I mean, the smear campaign for this young man, put your Cardinal hat off to the side for a second. If we're just all objective about this, it's one of the most egregious smear campaigns of an NFL player who has accomplished more than, 90% of guys that get into this league. And the fact that people just continually just go to town on his ability. Let's put aside you don't love Kyler Murray the person, or you think he's an introvert, or you don't love his leadership qualities. If you're trying to win a football game on Sunday and you've got Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo and Mac Jones and Kenny Pickett above Kyler Murray, you should get your football card removed. You should not be allowed to talk about football.
Yeah, whatever you feel like to be true as far as the NFL game goes, you might want to reevaluate that because it's wrong. It's wrong because if you're going to take a guy like Kenny Pickett who didn't throw multiple touchdown passes in his entire rookie season, and you're going to say that's the caliber of quarterback that Kyler Murray is with, I mean, it's just it doesn't match up. It really just doesn't at all. If you want to throw out the injury card, then why aren't we throwing that out on Jimmy Garoppolo? It seems to be a double standard with Kyler Murray. It's just the Arizona Cardinals are down. They only have one direction to go, and that's up. But in the meantime, unfortunately for Cardinals fans, they're going to take a lot of just erroneous punches from people that call themselves NFL experts, analysts, and it's not going to be based in fact, and it's not going to be based in reality. It's going to be based off of, they're going to be playing to the fan bases that are in contention, and the Arizona Cardinals aren't there right now, and Kyler Murray isn't available, so they just cast it aside. I would hope, maybe I'm giving him too much credit here, Johnny. I would hope that he hasn't been paying enough attention to really have a true answer on Kyler Murray, so he just lumped him in there, and that's irresponsible, right? Don't include him.
Shouldn't
in the
work
list.
for CBS Sports,
right?
Writing articles. Who's taking the time to read that? I mean, like that. That's the kind of post, and he's trying. I think it is clickbaity because he's got comments underneath the original post. I was going and looking at it and says, "Hey, I'm going to give a thread of my breakdown in threads, and so I'm going to give you more context." So. It's
so did he say, did he get to the Kyler?
No, not really. I mean, he hasn't elaborated on it, and of course, other fan bases are upset about their tiers. But like, he's got Kyler Murray in the worst tier in the NFL because tier 7 is just rookies: Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. So if you go by that, he is saying that Kyler Murray is a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL. Which is just absolutely ridiculous. We talked about it yesterday. I think the ranking of just the drafting of 32 teams, and Kyler Murray was drafted within the first 30 picks or whatever. He was the 14th quarterback drafted. Like, right. Kyler Murray is at worst the 14th best quarterback in the NFL. At best, he's an MVP candidate. And again, I think the guy, you're lumping him in now with like Carson Wentz and Baker Mayfield like damaged goods. I think people look at it like he's had his time. And he's blown his opportunity, but he's under contract. Like, Carson Wentz isn't on an NFL team. Jimmy Garoppolo has played for multiple franchises. The Derek Carr, the Vegas Raiders, say what you want about him, they couldn't get rid of him fast enough, right? Sam Howell's proven nothing. Sam Howell could be a benched afterthought by October. Kyler Murray, we've seen it, has gone on the road, has won big-time games, started a playoff game, say what you want, took the Cardinals from the depth of relevancy back from the dead in 2019, 2020, and 2021. And it's just like, no, but none of that matters. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't laugh at Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim, but then also say, oh, it's Kyler Murray's fault. And that's the argument we continue to make is just, you got to be able to get, who won those games? Who put up those numbers? Was it Kyler or was it somebody else? Because right now it feels like everybody is writing their own narrative, which is just erroneous and incorrect. They just don't pay attention, I guess. Well,
yeah, and you look at his third tier, right? You've got Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, and Justin Fields, who I know the hype train is pretty much off the rails, and Matthew Stafford, and you got him ahead of the likes of Jared Goff and Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins and Geno Smith. Like, I would almost flip-flop. Like, there's so many, you can just poke so many holes in this QB tier list. I don't think I've seen a worse list than this. I really don't. I don't know what, I mean, there's so many things that disqualify this list from, we're probably giving it too much love, and that was the intent. But, one, to put Kyler in the 6th tier, and then to have all these just mid to terrible quarterbacks so high up on the list. It's just, it's brutal. It's brutal. And it's like, it's disrespectful to fans that follow the game, pay attention, and want, smart, intelligent football discussion.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me not ever want to take CBS seriously again. Like, do we just need to not pay attention to CBS moving forward? I'm like, if I were to come on this show, or Bo comes on the show, and we just start saying, Rondell Moore is a sneaky Hall of Fame candidate. Rondell Moore, I think, needs to be getting first team All-Pro votes. Right. People in the chat would laugh at us and would stop tuning in because they wouldn't be able to take what we say seriously. And some people don't. That's fine. That's the comparison for this. Hey, Robert Nkemdiche never got a fair shake in the NFL. Those are the kind of I think at the end of the day, Steve Wilkes really should have been given a lifetime contract with the that's a comparable breakdown to what Will Brunson is doing.
Yeah.
And so it makes me not ever want to take CBS Sports seriously again. Like Cardinals are going to be on CBS a lot this year is the ironic thing, because they're no longer doing like NFC goes Fox and AFC goes CBS. It's like they're up for grabs now. Cardinals have a fair amount of CBS games this year. Like somebody needs to can we get Will Brunson on the call for when Kyler Murray comes back and starts hanging 30 on people again? Absolute joke, man.
Jordan P in the chat. I don't know if did Will say this during his or in the replies? We'll have to find out. Will Brinson, as far as the tier list in 2023, he put Kyler in tier 6 because he doesn't know if Kyler even play. No. I just don't. I think we've debunked that. Like if you put any
Jimmy might not play. Jimmy Garoppolo may not pass a physical. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't passed his physical with the Las Vegas Raiders yet, so that's a crock of shit. That's not true at all.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, very little research, if any, was put into Kyler Murray in why he feels like he's in that tier, which it's the worst tier. It is. Sam Howell, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Desmond Ridder.
No. Put Colt McCoy in that tier then. This is who's starting the season. Right. I'm putting like PFF did that. PFF had him like in the 20s. Put Colt McCoy with Sam Howell and company. And then it's not even a topic of discussion. There's no asterisks next to Kyler Murray. That if there's ever a reason, and you don't need many, but they're here. I'll give you another one. To become a diehard, go PHNX and read non-crap like that, then do it right now. Become a diehard. 90% of what we got going on is free. Gerald and company, they're at the NBA Summer League. Jesse, Howard Balzer, the PHNX Cardinals beat reporter. Howard's got his hot takes. He's never going to tell you Kyler Murray's a tier 6 quarterback in the NFL. Even for the Kyler Murray haters, and there are many, some are here locally in Arizona, like Kyler Murray is a franchise quarterback. Is he one of the best in the NFL? I think when he's healthy, he is, and has the right kind of head coach. But there are tiers to franchise quarterbacks. That you've got him. Baker Mayfield and Sam Howell could be out of football in the next 18 months.
Look at the videos coming out of Tampa Bay. I mean, it's Baker Mayfield sailing passes, skipping passes, throwing passes so far left and so far right. And these are in shorts, like with no pressure, nobody in defense, can't complete a pass. And you honestly think Kyler Murray is in the same tier as Baker Mayfield? Like that's insulting. That's just a true indictment of what you know and what you don't know as far as the NFL goes. I mean, that's Kyler Murray is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league, and to say that he's the same caliber of quarterback as Baker Mayfield it's brutally incorrect.
So if we're scoring at home, I think it was ESPN said the Cardinals have the worst roster. Who ranked the coaches? Was it NFL.com or somebody ranked the coaches recently? A major affiliate said Jonathan Gannon's the worst NFL head coach.
I think it was CBS, wasn't it?
CBS just on fire lately. And then now CBS, Will Brunson is saying Kyler Murray's a bottom 5 quarterback. Why we shouldn't even play this season? Why even play?
Right.
Why even have a 2023 NFL season? Like, come on now. Jonathan Gannon was the defensive coordinator for the NFC champions, and by all accounts is a rising star head coach and has assembled a great staff, in my opinion. The roster is what it is, but its best two players are Kyler Murray and Budda Baker, and people want Budda Baker to be traded for a ham sandwich, and Kyler Murray's a bottom 5 quarterback. It's just, I hate the narrative that there's biases, because I think sometimes that's overplayed. Then you see garbage like this, and it's like, people just don't pay enough attention to this team when they're not winning.
It's like we're playing to the 31 other teams, right, in their fan bases for the most part. And then and they're going to applaud this list and say, "Hey, great list," and they're not going to pay attention to the horrible decision or where they slotted Kyler Murray. And then there's going to be the fan base that roots for Kyler Murray, and they're going to push back, and they're just going to say, we're paying attention to the teams that, the consensus is going to compete, and we're just going to play to our base. We're going to play to the majority, and we don't care that we're going to piss off one fan base. with that nationally is perceived as a team that's not going to contend.
Yeah. Yeah. Super frustrating, and not surprising, but to be in a group with those other.
Where is CBS tier as far as how you consume football and respectability?
That's a great question. So PHNX Sports, PHNX Cardinals is tier 1 by itself. Well, no, that's not true. PHNX Cardinals, the MVR Broncos, CHGO Bears is tier 1. And then there's like, your ESPN, your Fox, right? And then there's Sporting News, and then there's CBS Sports.
PFF, I think, is in tier 2.
PFF is in tier 2. Yeah, for sure. Sporting News is in its own tier, and then Sporting News, who said the Cardinals failed the draft, and then below that is CBS Sports. Whatever's lower than an F.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm stressed out beyond belief from that, and I need a Polar Pop immediately. And the only place for me to get one to my liking is with my friends at Circle K. We're so excited to be partnered with our friends at Circle K. It's hot here in Arizona. It's like 110, 115 hot. And I need to hydrate in the worst way, especially I'm sweating. I'm so upset after those comments from Will Brunson, that fraud. So I need to go get 2 Polar Pops. And guess what? I'm only paying for one of them. Suck up. Text PHNX to 31310 to join the SMS subscriber club. Buy one, get one free, 32-ounce Polar Pop. I'd love to see Will Brunson driving his car and just throw one at his windshield, but I would not waste my Polar Pop. Head to circlek.com/store-locator. Find the Circle K nearest to you. Iced coffee under $2, 12 packs of beer under $10. Everything I need to stay hydrated in this hot Arizona summer. I'm doing it with my friends at Circle K. Circle K, I'm asking you, please ban Will Brunson from all your locations, which there are many. Again, if you need to find yours, circlek.com/store-locator. to find the nearest Circle K to you.
I love petty Johnny Venerable. Love him. He's elite. He's tier 1, no doubt about it, especially if he's launching Polar Pops at 32 ounces into the windshield of a NFL analyst. I figured it out. I think I know what the issue was with Will Brunson is he was probably dealing with non-OGs type cannabis products, like the swag stuff, like the non-good stuff that Johnny used to buy off some kid in 7th grade.
Wait a minute. Wait, hang on a second. You're talking.
Sorry.
You're talking to the wrong guy. Not a late bloomer, but keep it legal here, brother.
Right. Yeah. He was 18, and
thank you.
But he bought, a bag that had a bunch of sticks and stuff in it, and stuff you wouldn't find, that you would never imagine finding in a delicious bag of OG's gummies, because they're elite. They're tier 1, no doubt about it. So is their pink lemonade gummy they just dropped in late June. Refreshing twist on that classic summer beverage. When you think pink lemonade, you think ice cold, refreshing pink lemonade. It's great summer beverage, but now it's in a form of a delicious gummy, and it's getting toasty here in the Valley. Why not cool off with one of their pink lemonade gummies? Limited edition, of course, going on in all your favorite dispensaries around the Valley. That fresh, tangy lemon, hint of red berry, and plenty of sugar to help with that summer flavor. You can get it for yourself. Someone always can use some OGs. Check them out. All their products are online, ogsbrands.com. Just see what they're about, then go into your dispensary and buy them. They got the sleep edition gummy as well. It's going to help put you to sleep, keep you asleep. It's aquaberry. It's delicious. Got to check out everything OGs is doing. You can follow them on your Instagram, on social media, at OGs Brands. And you got to be 21 years or older, but you can find them, as I said, your local dispensary.
Knock in the chat. 7th grade, my God. If you saw a picture of me in 7th grade, it would be the last person you've ever seen in your life trying to score weed. It would be the saddest thing you've ever in my Darth Maul t-shirt trying to get an edible. Come on, bro. KK in the chat. CBS equals pro football talk. Did Florio partner with Will Brunson? We'll never know on that article.
I guarantee you sent him props. He probably looked him up and it slid into his DMs.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, Will, A+ work on that. A+ work.
Choice. That's choice tier ranking, my friend. If there's ever a sign we need football season to come back immediately and have real tangible games, that's one of them. Kyler Murray, again, we reported on it, or we discussed it in the first segment based on the fine working and reporting from Kyle Odegard at Compared.bet, that he is in line to try to come back as soon as possible. And it's funny. We speculated, or I did, that there could be a point in the season where the Cardinals are going to have to make a decision with Kyler Murray. And I think a lot of it is predicated on how they start the season, who's healthy, the buy-in of the team. But do you think that with Kyler Murray, this coming out, that, he's ready, he wants to play as soon as possible? And I don't think, they didn't give dates on that, but we've been of the mindset like October feels about like the right time. Do you feel like there's pressure for the organization to allow Kyler Murray to return regardless of what the first couple months of the season look like? I guess a better question for you, Bo, is, are there any scenarios in which you would hold out Kyler Murray based on what you've seen from the team thus far in the 2023 season?
No, because they have work to do, and they have things that they need answers for going into the 2024 offseason. I think holding back Kyler Murray, him not seeing the playing field or getting a sample size from K1, you don't fully benefit from that. You need to know, how he's going to take the Petskin system, how he's going to look post-injury. Is he going to be somebody that's going to be able to knock the rust off in a relatively quick manner to where he can put this team back, to where it's competing week in and week out? So I think that it benefits JG. I think the only person that might hesitate is a guy like Monti Ossenfort, but he knows ultimately the best thing is, like, if they can get their franchise quarterback back on the field, not only does it bode well for your team, contending each and every week, but it also it's just, you can obviously evaluate and know what you have as far as Kyler Murray goes. So I think if he's chomping at the bit, if he's checked all the boxes that the organization and the training staff have put in place, I really don't think that they're going to create an obstacle on their own to keep Kyler Murray off the field.
Yeah, I want to believe that you're right. And I do think that if the team gets a couple early dubs and they look really ahead of schedule and competitive, then it's going to be like, yeah, let's go. Let's get K1 back. Let's see what happens. But I'm going to play devil's advocate. And if these rankings are correct and the Cardinals are overwhelmed, they're lacking talent where we think they're lacking talent. Colt McCoy looks washed, and Petzin's offense, it needs a dynamic playmaker, and it's like, okay, they're over. And Kyler Murray looks good, but they're a little bit on the fence. I don't know. I have to see it with my own eyes because, again, the benefit of playing Kyler Murray for a winless team at the end of October, let's say the wheels completely fall off, hypothetically, there are going to be some conversations that have to be had. What's the point of that when you're staring down maybe a generational prospect? Because again, Kyler Murray comes back and he struggles, and you still, only win 1 or 2 games. Like, how does that feel like the trajectory of this team looks in the spring? I get it. You have to have confidence in your coaching staff and your players to be able to put people in positions to be successful. But I don't know. Again, I say this every show, it feels like now, but this season has so many different layers and could go so many different ways based on how the team starts and when does Kyler Murray opt to return. And again, reading that article today makes me feel like he wants to pull a Joe Burrow, Robert Griffin III. Like, he wants to try to come back and play in September. I don't think that happens, but what happens, Bo Brack, if you're at training camp, he's out there bouncing around. He's out there running around. He looks good throwing the football. His teammates are going to look over there and be like, what are we waiting for? Let's get this guy under center. Let's get him, throwing the ball around here, because there's no way he's not going to be active at training camp. He's going to be doing something on the sideline.
Well, and when I think of what we've heard from Zach Ertz, where we've talked to Ertz post-injury, post-surgery, and what his timeline looks like, and he's gearing up to play week 1, but he said, that's training camp is going to be the thing that's going to dictate that, because if he's not at training camp, he says he's probably not going to be able to play week 1. So that's going to dictate the same thing for Kyler Murray, especially in year 1 in a new system. So I think that, Kyler Murray, if he starts training camp on PUP and, we don't see him for the most of training camp, and then he's, then the next kind of checkpoint is he going to start the season on IR, then you're looking at least the first 4 weeks of the season without Kyler Murray. So I think you can, I don't know. I'd be shocked if there's a scenario where he doesn't go on IR to start the season. But you like those examples you gave me with Burrow, even like with Carson Wentz, I think he started after week 3. You'd have to risk it, roll the dice, and not IR him and roll with him is on the active roster while he continues to finalize his rehab and get back on the field.
Nick in the chat, if Kyler plays 10 games, we can win it at 5 at least. I agree with that. I think, again, Kyler Murray, I think they win half the games he plays. I think he's that good of a quarterback. I think their schedule, frankly, is easy enough. It's a 4th place schedule. It's not the barn burner, the bloodbath it was in 2022. But again, what does it look like before he comes back? And what if he plays 5 games instead of 10? What does that look like? I mean, is it worth it? Is it worth it for him? I mean, we just heard from John, who brought up a great point from PFF. Deshaun Watson came back not from injury last year, and I know he took a year off of football as different circumstances. He was terrible last year in Drew Petzing's offense, and the learning curve sounds like it is pretty steep, right? I mean, this is the same kind of offense Kyle Shanahan, to some degree, wants to run or does run. Trey Lance wasn't ready to run it. I mean, they had to pivot.
Yeah.
They had to bring Garoppolo back, and Brock Purdy, was ahead of schedule and played a lot of, college football and was an almost plug and play toward the end of the year. But all that to say, like, there's no assurance that Kyler Murray is going to be able to find a groove in 3 to 5 games. Mm-hmm. So are those reps that meaningful? I think just you're going to have to weigh the fact that Kyler Murray is going to want to come back. And if you hold him out because you want to be able to make sure he's healthy, and then the season unravels, and then you blow your opportunity to get him out there, you have I guess the point I'm trying to make, I don't think I'm doing a good enough job of it. You have to have a window in mind for Kyler Murray to return. And you either hit that window or you go completely off the deep end for the quarterback out in SoCal. That's my game plan for this season. If he can't come back and you're struggling, you're losing games in September and October, and Kyler Murray's telling you in mid-October, I'm ready, you have to let him play. Because if you don't, and you're saying, no, we're thinking like Thanksgiving, then it's over. Because Colt McCoy and David Blau and Clayton Tune for 2.5 months is a direct freight train from hell to the first pick in the NFL draft. With all due respect to those guys,
it's not a group that you have a lot of confidence in, right? I mean, the cliche is you can get probably 3 wins out of your backup. You can get 3 losses from your backup. And I think Colt McCoy is your quintessential backup, and you're asking him to play way more than, the usual NFL backup will, play in an NFL regular season. And then you would rely on a 5th round rookie potentially with Clayton Tune. If things went so far awry, it would be disastrous. But like I said before, like I really think that they need, from an evaluation standpoint, regardless of what their record is, to know what they're going to have in Kyler Murray. And as far as to your point, Deshaun Watson coming back and looking as bad as he did, and they were completely revamping him. And Colt McCoy alluded to this. We talked about it on a previous podcast about how important footwork is in Drew Petzing's offense, and how Colt McCoy, that's something that hasn't dealt with in the near 20 years of football that he's played at the collegiate and NFL level. Like, that's going to be something that Kyler Murray is going to, he just hasn't done it before. Like, will he take to it quicker than some people? Potentially. Like, he technically, as far as his technique goes, he's one of the best in the league. Like, he probably would take it to it, but it's still going to be a process. And you got to start that process. Why not do it while you can? And maybe the expectations of winning aren't there this season. So get them in there when there's not that much pressure.
You said Colt McCoy, your backup, expected to win like 3 games. I mean, Colt McCoy played good football when the roster was pretty well loaded 2 years ago. I think Colt McCoy, a year, removed from retirement. I think he's got about 1 more year with a roster like Arizona's in transition with a new coaching staff. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. And they're going to have pressure from old K1 to get out there sooner rather than later. Christian in the chat, I feel like I've watched too many episodes not to say hello. Hello, Christian. How are you, sir? From Chicago. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you so much, Christian.
Thanks, Christian.
We do our best here, as does our friends at Pins and Aces. They do awesome work. Pins and Aces, the official golf apparel partner of PHNX and ALLCITY. Check out Big Drive Energy wherever you get your podcasts. Absolutely love my Pins and Aces gear, peacocking in my polo. They've got so much good stuff. Golf bags, hats, polos, as I mentioned. Our favorite beer sleeve. It's an innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag. Keep your drinks cold the entirety of your round. They've got so much good stuff. Pinsandaces.com. Use that code PHNX. Receive 15% off your first order. You get free shipping. And again, their stuff goes in and out. So get those notifications. If you're a medium, a small, a large, whatever you want, get it. Pinsandaces.com. 15% off your first order. Promo code PHNX.
And as you mentioned, you're going to want to be locked on to gophnx.com. Become a diehard. Take advantage of all the benefits, perks that you get from becoming a diehard. You're going to have exclusive access to all the events that we're going to have going down this fall, into the summer as well. Takeovers as the D-backs continue their run towards playing in October. You're going to want to become a diehard. Get access to that exclusive member Discord. Everything that you want as a Cardinals fan that's really going to scratch that itch, it's right there becoming a diehard. So go to phnxlocker.com, go to gophnx.com. Read all the work from our peers over here. Howard Balzer, as you mentioned, Gerald Bourguet. He's going to be in Summer League with the entire crew. Craig Morgan cranking out, content on the Coyotes, and our guy Jesse Freeman as far as the D-backs go. Don't miss out on any of that. Become a diehard today. Go phnx.com.
We've got so much good content on the horizon, doing some fun roundtables. We'll share more when we can. And we've got training camp less than 3 weeks away out in Tempe. We're going to have so much content and insight from the man to my right. And again, you want to be part of that exclusive member Discord that comes only with the diehard membership to be able to see just exactly what's going on with the Arizona Cardinals day in and day out. Thank you guys so much for hopping in, hanging with us today. Thank you to John Cosco of Pro Football Focus for stopping by. We're going to be out BetMGM Sportsbook, the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. Manana, come out and say hello. Watch the show live at 4 p.m. In the meantime, he's Bo Brock. I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you on a Friday.